First story. 2 months since D-Day and my EXGF of 6 years has yet to show an ounce of remorse. Hello fellow betrayed and/or advisors. I realize this is a bit long and a big thank you to those who will read. My 26M XGF 28F of 6 years started cheating on me 3 months ago, 1 month before D-Day, with someone from her work. We both work in the entertainment industry, meaning we are constantly changing workplaces and colleagues. She had only known the AP for a few months. Her gig started in January. We lived together and were both working at the time, and I started to get suspicious, as per the usual signs that I have read on here. Being suddenly secretive about work, hidden texting, putting extra care into her looks, creating distance both emotionally and sexually, and coming home at odd hours. As our work hours can fluctuate between jobs, I wasn't that surprised for the latter, but combine it all. Most importantly, this time it just felt different. Did a bit of snooping and found email receipts from rideshare apps, with the same address popping up at least 5 or 6 times over a 3-week period. That is the AP's home. Confronted her the next day, and after 2 hours of denying, lying and gaslighting, she finally admitted to cheating. It happened once and spontaneously. Not a tear was shed by her, and after another 2/3 hours of trying to understand and getting half-hearted answers to a million questions, I called it a night. I slept at our apartment for 3 days, hardly seeing each other, thanks to different work hours, and then ended things before packing 2 suitcases and sleeping at a friend's apartment for a week while I finished my gig. She did not seem a tiny bit sad that it had ended, but was angry with me, for whatever reason. I spent the week working and getting support from friends in the evening, as to not be alone with my thoughts. Then comes the shitty part. I came back on a Sunday morning to pick up a few things, and you can imagine my horror when I stumbled across the AP and my ex, half in the nude, having breakfast at our table, drinking my coffee, after a night of sleeping, or not, in our bed. The pictures of both of us still up on the walls, and everything we had shared for 6 years perfectly intact. This might seem trivial now, but at the time it contributed to this WTF moment. To be honest, that was probably the worst thing in all of this. The image is still stuck in my mind. AP left in about 10 seconds flat, and after my ex had the audacity to get mad at me for not notifying her of my arrival, we got to talking a little deeper about our relationship. Again, there was no remorse nor tears, but a semi-explanation as to why she did what she did. She said, and I have read this many times on this community, that she had been unhappy in the relationship for about a year, that she was depressed, felt that she had not accomplished much in life, and basically that she had to work on how to be happy. She felt that her life revolved too much around me, my friends, and my way of living. I knew all this, of course, as we had talked about it plenty of times. She moved here from another city to study, and we met during her first year here and fell in love. 12 months later we are living together, and my social circle has become her social circle. We are living our early 20s, having fun, growing together, finding jobs and working very hard in an industry that can be challenging and very demanding at times. I have found this line of work much easier, and have climbed the promotional ladder faster, which I know is something that did put a strain on the relationship, both for her feeling as though she was stuck at the same level, and me taking on more and more responsibility, that is, more work hours and less time for us. I realized this a year ago and felt I made some good decisions to try and conciliate professional personal needs by not accepting certain jobs, trying to work locally, etc. I'm young, but I learned to say no to different demands, not answering phone calls on the wheeze unless absolutely vital, and generally trying to leave work at work. I felt things get better, and being in the same industry, she usually understood if I had to answer that phone call at 8 p.m. on a Sunday. As to our social circle, they are all amazing friends from different backgrounds that have welcomed her with open arms from the outset. and I know that she always considered them to be my friends, but I feel it is unfair to them and to me after 6 years of them trying to break down whatever emotional barrier she put up. I guess it comes down to not having something that is truly hers, which I can completely understand. It is heartbreaking and can drive someone to do desperate things, leading to the affair and then the so-called affair fog maybe. I have my flaws, and the relationship was far from perfect. Does that even exist? But I felt that I never restrained her from doing anything on her own. I even encouraged it. I always included her in my social activities, but never made it out to be obligatory, nor be upset if she didn't turn up to a social gathering, which happened a lot. She would often get invites from my friends to meet up, with or without me, but 70% of the time she would not go, and then would complain that she didn't have any friends. I rarely told her that this was maybe her doing, and instead acted in support, being a shoulder to cry on. Maybe I should have been a little more harsh and realistic. 6 months ago, 3 months before we had a tough discussion. With hindsight, this might have been the moment her mental barrier broke, leading to her being able to cheat, that is. After considering what she had told me many times, seeing that she was unhappy, feeling dependent on me, I told her that we should maybe consider living separately, whilst remaining a couple. I still loved her, and it may seem like the beginning of a breakup, but I honestly thought this might be the best for both of us, allowing us to be more independent, even if we were to see each other less. Quality not quantity. It was harsh, but for me it was a real solution to a real problem. And I assured her that it was not a means to an end of the R. The news did not go well. And after a week or so of her crying, and me realizing I was going to lose her, I reconsidered and we didn't go through with it. Although, in retrospect, I'm convinced something snapped at that point. I've strayed away from our discussion. Sorry. I should maybe label this as a rant. To sum it up, she was feeling unhappy in the relationship for all these different reasons. But while she talked about me a lot, I never felt that I was actually to blame for the cheating. And I know I'm not, trust me. But she was saying all these things about me living my best life, and her being in a depressive spiral, and that this maybe drove her away, and straight into the arms of AP. She said that I wasn't taking care of her, being too focused on myself, my career. These are things that are important to me, of course, but I know that I have always put in 110% to make things work with her. I've always been there to support her, love her, compliment her. I've helped her out, and I've learned that sometimes even if you have the answer to her problems, the best thing to do is just to listen. So it doesn't add up. Like I said, I have my flaws, but I don't think in any way that I deserve this. It all seemed rather easy, to be honest. The fact that I caught her, that she didn't own up to it straight away, that she said it was a one-time thing. It was a month. That a week after the breakup she invited AP for sex in our home, etc. It felt like a Hail Mary attempt to project her insecurities and her fuck up onto me. And when we talked it seemed genuine, but thinking about it, and knowing who she is, it just doesn't seem to be true. I'm not a psychologist, but I feel the emotional immaturity is getting the better of her, and that making me feel shitty about our relationship is just a defense mechanism. I'm getting better, still thinking about her daily, but that a given. The question "why did you do this" is sort of half answered. What remains is the "how could you do this?" 2 months now and I haven't set foot in our apartment. She is still working and I'm on break at my parents' house, or sleeping at friends' places when I go the city. My friends have not unexpectedly picked sides, although I haven't asked them to. I'm focusing on me and my health, working out, reading books, and I've gone and broken once only for logistical reasons. Now this is where it gets complicated. I've got a job starting in September, and one of my friends will sublet his place while I work and look for a new apartment, which means I'm moving out around August. So we will obviously have to see each other. I'm torn because I would like her to leave my life so that I can heal and move on. But a part of me is longing for her to feel remorse and try to repair things. I won't take her back, I'm sure of that. Too much shit has happened, and if the affair wasn't a deal breaker, then seeing AP in my home definitely was. Nevertheless, I want her to come forward. I want her to say sorry, not sure that she genuinely has yet. I want her to look me in the eyes and say that she fucked up, that it's not my fault however strained the relationship could have been. I've loved and cared for 6 years, and I feel I've been tossed aside without a second thought. Is it healthy to want this? I feel it is the only way to get closure. I'm mad at the way things ended, not at the ending itself. I know that people are complicated. I know that shit isn't easy every day. Honestly, I feel like the collateral damage of someone who is just trying to figure out their life. Didn't deserve it, but what can you do? Thanks for reading. Love to all. Second story. I 34M need advice on how to deal with fiancé's 34F repeated infidelity. Background. I 34AM have been in a monogamous relationship with my fiancé 34F for over 12 years, and we have 2 young children together. I had caught her 7 years ago cheating on me with a male friend of hers. To this day she still denies having sex with him. But I found that she was sending illicit pictures and texts to him and lied to me about her whereabouts and was drinking at his house with him alone, when she was supposed to be at the bar with friends. Several months later, I found her again sending intimate photos of herself to a large Discord chat of local men and women. She had met up with some of these people IRL. I don't believe for sex, but it was still violating nonetheless. In both cases, she made some horrible and disparaging comments about me to these people and made me out to be a horrible person. After this, we were separated temporarily but ultimately decided to go through counseling and continued our relationship. Several years after this, she became pregnant twice and we had 2 children and we became engaged. Fast forward to about 8 months ago, she left me and moved in with her mother. For various reasons, our relationship had deteriorated to the point of separation. 2 weeks after this occurred, we decided to try again to work things out, and began marriage counseling again. From the beginning of this time, we both agreed that we would remain faithful and monogamous to one another until we decided to continue our relationship or not. Since that time, she has been living with her mother in another city. And we have had our ups and downs, but she was actually in the process of moving her things back into my house, as we had worked out the issues that had caused her to leave, and our relationship felt stronger than it had in years. Current issue. This past weekend she came into town to move items back and spend time with the kids and myself as a family. Children primarily live with me. While laying in bed, I noticed messages from a man I had never heard of before on her phone. My suspicion got the better of me and I took her phone and looked through it. I found conversations with at least a dozen men on multiple different platforms, dating apps, messaging apps, etc. She also had a number of friends that she had met at the local bar in her mother's town that she had been talking to about these dating apps. In the 20 minutes or so that I had access to her phone, I found more instances of her exchanging sexually explicit photos with these men. In addition, there were more disparaging comments about me and how these men were better than me. When I confronted her about it, she initially lied and said that it was prior to having started mending our relationship. This was easily disproved. These messages were several months into our reconciliation process and seemed to take place for several months. I don't know what else she may have done that I wasn't able to discover, as she remotely locked her phone to halt my search. I told her we were done and she needed to pack her things and leave. It was a traumatic experience for us both, and I feel all the same sickening feeling that I had tried hard to move past the last 2 times. In my mind, I know that I cannot allow this to happen to me, and I feel the best thing is to leave and call it quits. But in my heart, I am still madly in love with her. I still care about her, and part of me wants to pretend all of this is something we can forget. I want nothing more than to have my happy little family back. I've worked so hard to make everything work, and I am not sure I can handle the idea of it really being over. What can I do? What did you do in a similar situation? How did it work out? Any advice is appreciated. Thanks for taking the time to read all this. Third story. Wife started dating an older man as soon as she said, "I want a divorce." To be clear, I, 36 am no saint in this situation. There's been years of laziness, alcohol abuse, and anger issues on my end. We've been married almost 10 years. She, 35F, has every right to want a divorce, and I don't blame her. What bothers me is that it started as a separation, with no intention from her to fix things. I booked a DR appointment, a therapy appointment, and a marriage counselor over the next few days. I didn't drink at all, 2 weeks sober now, and in therapy to help. On day 3, she told me she wants a divorce. I sobbed with my mom, as my STBX kicked me out of the house, for hours. Little did I know, she was already dating a 48-year-old client of hers. She's a hairdresser. Tuesday, she refused to say anything about it, but I had suspicions. I moved back into the house and put a bed in the basement. She stayed at a friend's house and left me with the kids. She refused to tell me who she was staying with, and said it's none of my business. I was wallowing in depression and self-hate. My DR told me I needed to change my ways because I'm pre-diabetic and prescribed antidepressants. DR recommended a mostly plant-based diet. That Thursday therapy goes well, but my therapist doesn't understand how I'm functioning through this. It clicks. I go on the diet and start taking the kids on outdoor adventures. I'm cooking healthy meals for the family and doing a ton around the house. STBX is upset with me that I'm making the changes she's been trying to get me to do for years. Saturday. I try a Hail Mary and try to talk her out of the divorce. She won't budge and wants to end it. I even said to her that if she already slept with someone I'd let it go. I just wanted our family to stay together. Nothing. I then demanded she tell me if she's seeing someone. She refuses to tell me. I wallow in depression again and retire to the basement. Sunday, the thoughts are swirling. I look at our cell phone records. She texted with this number 597 times in the past week. Reverse search it, and a name pops up. I went upstairs and asked, "Does the name, redacted, mean anything to you?" She froze and muttered, "Yeah," and I felt a strange wave of relief wash over me. Finally I knew the truth. I send a volley of texts expressing how disgusted I was with her, and how I can't believe how she's been acting. She texts back, says she's taking the kids to her parents and will be back to talk. She packs up while I sit on the couch loving on my boys with a big smile on my face. They leave and she comes back 2 hours later. We have a drag-out fight throwing everything we were mad about from the past and present. I finally got to speak my mind about how she's been acting through this whole thing, how she's been gaslighting me, and how she's a disgusting person for what she did. The fight ends with her slamming her bedroom door shut, with a click of the lock. I go downstairs and make some questionable decisions on local R4R subs, while sleeping for 2 hours at a time, 4 hours total. Today, I get ready for work and head out. I felt relief, like we needed to get all of that anger out. I finally feel like I can let her go, but can't ever look at her the same way. I no longer want to be married to someone like that. It just bothers me that she immediately ran to a 48-year-old man the day after she said she wants a divorce. We're not even legally separated yet, and have our first meeting with the mediator on Thursday. Am I crazy? Is what she did acceptable? Everyone I've talked to says she's being a total asshole about all of this. I just feel so alone, and she's out fucking someone else. They are dating now. I hate all of this. Fourth story. Figured out GF was cheating. So, I have been dating my GF for going on 13 years. We went through work, community college and college together. We met each other's families. I was there for her grandfather's death, her awful dad's behavior and him kicking her out. I worked so she could go to college. I helped her immensely in college with courses that were difficult for her. We live together, have been planning on buying a home, have a dog together. Her job is out in the desert and she stays in hotels, comes home once a week. Last weekend, she brought a dog over that belonged to one of her coworkers. She has also occasionally not been coming home the last few months because of weekend work or to visit a sick friend. I am naturally suspicious and thought that this was strange. Specifically, because her story about the owner was detailed but also vague. To me, letting someone borrow your dog for the weekend implies great trust. So, I looked at her phone. She left it unlocked when she went to the bathroom and I saw her messages with this guy, and the first few lines were all I needed to know. This bothered me more because she isn't even careful about hiding or deleting anything, so she is comfortable doing this. I confronted her and she did not even try to defend herself. Just did the silent response and only admitted to making out with this person. She seems to be fine with leaving and I just feel like I have been used for who knows how long as a stepping stone. I am deeply hurt and also upset that the plans we had to buy a home, that I am close to her family. Our life together is now something that I no longer want. I don't really feel like I care about anything anymore because I don't even know what is real. I don't feel like crying. I'm not really angry. It's been 3 days and I still feel shocked about the whole thing. I have not had the nicest upbringing, so I don't mind the extra trauma on top of what I already have. I never ask for help. I work in a highly technical job and I have always been very self-sufficient, but I am asking for some advice. Forgive the run on sentences errors. This was a straight type and post, and most of all thank you for reading.